Hello everyone. Now we will see about the important topics in the first year zoology for the IPA examination. First we are moving for the very short answers, that is the 2 marks answers. In terms of the 2 marks answers, already you have seen in the botany examination, botany has been completed first examination, but unexpected, unrepeated questions, 3 or 4 questions they have been given. Whether actually if they are giving the unrepeated or else unexpected questions, there is a problematic in the very short answers. But we have to see the very short answers particularly. Maximum we have to concentrate on the particular answers which they have repeated in the examinations regularly. In that concept, in that aspect, if you are going for the first unit, that is actually biodiversity. In the biodiversity, in the very short answers maximum, they'll ask about the biogenesis, then IUCN, red data books, protostomia and deuterostomia, maximum biodiversity hotspots, maximum they will concentrate on these questions, trinomial nomenclature, then tautonymy, maximum questions they will ask from this thing only. If they are not asking these questions particularly, they'll ask other ones from the particular first unit. If you are moving for the second unit, structural organization in the animals particularly, in that thing, tendon, ligament, cephalization, retroperitoneal organs, hematocrit value, osteoclast, osteocytes, maximum they'll ask from these questions actually which are mostly repeated in the examinations particularly. Or else if they want to ask anything from the particular any different or else any tough they want to ask, they'll ask the other questions also particularly. Sesamoid bone, all these things they'll ask from the particular second unit. If you are moving for the third unit, there is actually animal diversity 1. In the animal diversity 1, we had about the 9 phylums. In that 9 phylums particularly, they'll ask about the canal system in the sponges, or else metagenesis, or else the particularly excretory organs in the particularly platyhelminths, monkeys, and about the amphids and plasmids, and particularly about the molluscans. In the molluscans particularly, what are the different organs in the molluscans, and about the radula, rasping organ in the molluscans particularly, and which mollusca is not consisting of a radula. Like this they'll ask. And then about the echinodermatans, if they're asking about they'll ask about the ambulacral system, or else about the madreporoid they'll ask particularly, and about the Aristotle's lantern. Aristotle's lantern is a maximum repeated question from the particular third unit. Then if you are moving for the botedal tissue also, maximum they'll ask from the third unit particularly. If you are moving for the particular fourth unit, that is animal diversity 2, that is a chordata, they'll ask about the cyclostomates. And then they'll ask about the particular, if you are concentrating on the, fourth unit is mainly consisting of what, it is vertebrate or else chordata. In that chordata, maximum they'll ask about the cyclostomates or else milt and span, differences between the milt and span they'll ask, or else 4 extra embryonic membranes, Jacobson's organs. Like this they'll particularly ask the focus in the particular things particularly. And about the birds here, what are the characteristics of the birds particularly, which consisting of which is differentiating, and the differences between the male frog and female frog. Maximum they'll ask from these questions only. Repeated, if they are not asking, they'll concentrate on the other questions. That's why maximum whatever the very short are there in the third and fourth unit, maximum less very short we had actually. If you are concentrating on all the questions, actually compulsory will get in the examination. If you are moving for the fifth unit, particularly locomotion and reproduction, maximum they are consisting of a very less very short answers. From that thing actually, kinetic, differences between the flagella and cilia, lobopodia and philopodia difference, maximum they'll ask from these things. If they are not asking these questions, actually they'll go for the other questions from that particularly fifth unit. And sixth unit, whatever we are taking actually locomotion and reproduction. Sixth unit, there is a biology in human welfare particularly. It is a very large unit particularly actually. It is covering the vast number of topics. In that things they'll ask about the hyperparasite, or else they'll ask about the particular apart if they are not asking the hyperparasite, they'll ask about the incubation period, pre-patent period, or else about the different types of the particular diseases. They'll ask some type of disease in the particular 2 marks, or else drugs particularly, neoplasia, hyperplasia, that means parasitic adaptations they'll ask in the 2 marks here. And then about the life cycles, if you are taking particularly nocturnal periodicity, they'll ask about the mammalated eggs, they'll ask. And plasmodium already we have been discussed about the Schaffner dots, hemozoin granules, all these things they will concentrate particularly on what? Particularly on the 2 marks here, lymphogenitis, lymphadenitis, in the Ukareria bank of tea particularly, or else if you are going for the drugs particularly, they'll ask in the drugs, they'll ask the common topics from the drugs particularly here. That's why biology and human welfare is consisting of a vast number of questions, but if you are concentrating on the maximum repeated expected questions, maximum will get from the biology and human welfare. If you are going for the 7th unit, there is a Periplanet Americana. In the Periplanet Americana, or else cockroach, they'll ask about the hypognathous head, why cockroach head is known as hypognathous head. Then about the intima, and about the spiracles, and about the sense organs of the particular cockroach, sensilla, like this they'll ask particularly. And whatever the important repeated questions they are there, these are the repeated questions particularly in the cockroach or else Periplanet Americana. And if they want to ask any other questions, they'll ask from the Periplanet Americana. Periplanet Americana is also consisting of a less number of very short answers. Maximum if you are concentrating, will get particularly here. And then from the 8th unit, there is the ecology. Ecology also consisting of a vast number of very short answers. The general topic it is. We have to cover maximum about the ecosystem, ecosphere, biosphere, and about the community they will ask particularly, and neuston, nekton, and then periphyton, PAR, photosynthetically active radiations, importance of the UV rays, Gauss's principle, then about the biomagnification, global warming. Maximum they'll ask from these topics particularly. That means more number of questions are there. If you are concentrating on the repeated, then if you also concentrate on the other questions, maximum will cover the ecology or else phototaxis, photokinesis, differences. Maximum they'll ask from these questions particularly here. And if you are moving for the short answers, that means 4 marks answers. From the first unit if you are taking, that is actually biodiversity. From the first unit, maximum species concept, reasons for the greater biodiversity in tropics, revert pupper phenomena, evil correlate. Then actually in situ conservation, if they are asking, sometimes they are asked about the in situ conservation, and binomial nomenclature. These are the maximum repeated questions from the particular for first unit. If they are not asking these questions only, they will go for the different questions. Sometimes they will ask about the biodiversity hotspots for the 4 marks also, or else about the utilization of the biodiversity also they will ask for the 4 marks particularly. And second unit if you are moving, that is actually structural organization in the animals particularly. In that thing, glandular epithelium, and then about the areolar tissue, then types of cartilages, Haversian system, multipolar neuron, then types of skeletal particularly skeletal system, types of muscles they will ask particularly. And if they are not asking these questions only, they will go for the other questions particularly in the second unit. That means from the second unit compulsory will get the 4 marks. And symmetry and coelom also we have to see. That means the formation of cytocoelom, formation of the enterocoelom particularly we have to see in the second unit particularly. If you are moving for the third unit, that is animal diversity 1, that is 9 phylums whatever we had in that thing. In that particularly they will ask about the characteristics of the different phylums. In that aspect, first they will ask about the about the Scyphozoa. Maximum they will ask about the Scyphozoa, or else they will ask about the Anthozoan characteristics. And then if you are moving for the Porifera, the Cnidaria, then Coelenterata they will ask, Cnidaria they will not ask particularly for the 4 marks here, and Platyhelminthes they will not ask. And from the Annelida if they are asking, they will ask about the comparing characteristics of the Polychaeta, Oligochaeta and Hirudinea. And in the particular Arthropoda they will ask about the characteristics of the crustaceans, and then they will ask about the characteristics of the prawn particularly, and that means arachnidans, that means scorpions particularly. And they will ask about the differences between the Centipedus and Millipedus particularly. And if they are asking in the molluscans particularly, molluscans they will ask about the adaptations of the molluscans and the primitive characteristics of the molluscans particularly they will ask, or else they will ask about the class of the Pila globosa. Pila globosa particularly gastropoda whatever we had about, they will ask about the gastropodons particularly from the molluscans. And echinodermatans if they are asking particularly, in the echinodermatans they will ask about the particularly echinoidans or else holothuridans they will ask particularly here characteristics here maximum. And if they are moving for the 4th unit, that is actually animal diversity 2, that is the chordatans. In the chordatans they will ask the differences, first 4 hallmark characteristics of the chordatans they will ask. If they are not asking that question, they will go for the differences between the sea squids and lanceolates, and then differences between the Chondrichthyes, Ostrictis, then heart of frog. If they are not asking about all these things, they will go for the characteristics of the amphibians, then rat-tailed birds characteristics and flight adaptations of the birds. Maximum we will get the questions from these things only. and from the fourth unit. And if you are moving for the fifth unit, the fifth unit particularly about the structure of the internal structure of the flagellum, particular tiers of the flagella, whatever we had actually, axonemal structure, 9+2 and axonemal structure, it is very important for the 4 marks. Then compulsory question, that is actually important question from the fifth unit, that is longitudinal binary diffusion in euglena and transverse binary diffusion in the paramecium. Maximum these 3 questions whatever we had, they'll ask. If they are not asking this thing only, they'll go for the sexual reproduction, particularly whatever we are seeing in the organisms, particularly they'll go here, or else multiple fusion they'll ask here particularly. And you are moving for the sixth unit, there is a biology in human welfare, particularly maximum types of parasites, parasitic adaptations, effects of parasites they will ask particularly, then structure of sporozoite maximum, then about the Eukaryoria bank of T, whatever the lymphadenitis, whatever prophylaxis particularly they'll ask here. And 4 marks from the drugs, particularly types of drugs they will ask, or diseases, viral diseases, fungal diseases, bacterial diseases we have to see particularly. And TDA abuse, particularly we have to concentrate on the TDA abuse, addiction and dependence, why adolescence is an vulnerable phase, or else prevention is better than cure. Whatever the steps we had, 5 steps we have to write clear. They are the very important questions, particularly from the 6th unit. If you are moving for the 7th unit, first we have to concentrate on the diagrams here. There is a ommatidium, structure of ommatidium, and then salivary glands diagram we have to concentrate. And sometimes they'll ask about what? Maximum they'll ask these 2 questions from the particularly cockroach. If they are not asking these questions particularly, they'll go for the reproductive system, that is male reproductive system of the cockroach or female reproductive system of the cockroach, they'll ask. Or else superposition image, opposition image, they'll ask for the 2 marks also sometime. And sometimes they'll touch for the 4 marks particularly. We have to concentrate in the cockroach particularly. And in the cockroach, if they are not asking 8 marks from the cockroach, they'll ask from the 2nd unit. If they are not asking 8 marks from the cockroach, actually digestive, respiratory, circulatory or reproductive, they'll ask for the 4 marks also. That we have to concentrate particularly. Then last unit there is ecology. Ecology from the ecology particularly actually 4 marks. That means whatever the 4 marks were, ecological pyramids, food chains, then One-Toff's rule, summer stratifications particularly, then about the winter stratifications, adaptations of the marine organisms, adaptations of the freshwater organisms. This we have to see particularly. Then about the greenhouse effect, then about the eutrophication, and sometimes pollution also, particularly water pollution and sound pollution, sometimes they'll ask for the 4 marks also particularly. Then about the interaction, population interactions, if they are asking, they will ask for the 4 marks, rarely they will ask particularly. Then brood parasitism particularly, they will ask for the 4 marks. Maximum these are the 4 marks questions which are covering from the ecology. And then if you are moving for the 8 marks answers, particularly long answers, maximum long answers we are getting from the 6th, 7th, 8th unit. This is a common aspect, this is a common phenomenon. In the biology and human welfare, life cycles whatever we had actually, Plasmodium in man, Plasmodium in mosquito, 2 are the separate answers. Then Ascaris lumbricoides life cycle, Eukaryoria life cycle, they are the 4. If they are not asking these 4 long answers, then they will move for the, they will give sometimes, rarely they will give about the entamoeba histolytica life cycle. But maximum they will ask these 4 only. Rarely they will give the entamoeba histolytica life cycle from the 6th unit. 1 long answer compulsory. From the 7th unit, that is Periplaneta americana particularly, digestive system of the cockroach, respiratory system of the cockroach, then circulatory system of the cockroach, reproductive system of the cockroach. Out of these 4, 1 question compulsory. And from the last ecology, whatever we had, from the ecology, temperature is an ecological factor, lake ecosystem, then air pollution. Sometimes if they are asking, they'll ask the food chains. Rarely if they want to ask, they'll ask about the water is an ecological factor. From the 8th unit particular. That means 6th, 7th, 8th unit will be consisting of one long answers in the final examination. If they want to change the aspect particularly, sometimes they'll ask the long answer from what? Long answer from the particularly 2nd unit. There is epithelial tissues maximum they will ask here. If they are asking the epithelial tissues from the 2nd unit, they will not ask the long answer from the 7th unit, that is the Periplaneta americana. That's why we have to see the epithelial tissues in the 2nd unit also for the long answer particularly. And sometimes if they are asking, rarely they will ask about the different types of the muscles also, they will ask for the 8 marks here. Right? This is about the particular important aspects, important topics in the zoology. As you see in the first year botany paper, somewhat in the very short answers they have been tilted. The unexpected questions they have been given. That's why don't totally depend on the important questions, but you have to see particularly the other questions also particularly. All the best. Hoping for your success in your examination.